Hi everyone, my name is Arunodhay from W3 CodePad. In this video, I will discuss about table relationship in Laravel. So if you see this particular screen, this is a list of user and these informations are coming from one table called users table, and this information is coming from another table called profiles table. So this particular listing, this particular page is getting data from two tables, users table and profile tables. Users tables getting ID, name and email, whereas profile, from the profile table I am getting mobile, phone and addresses. So by joining these two tables I am getting this data. In Laravel, it is known as relationship. In SQL, it is called joining. So one of the relationship is called one-to-one relationship. So there are some steps I'll tell you. There are 3 steps you have to follow so that you can get this data like this. So let's get started. The one-to-one relationship in Laravel. So first step is I have two tables, users table, the model is user, and this user table has ID, name, email, password. Updated 8 and created 8, 2 fields already by default generated by Laravel. And the second table is called profiles table and the model name is profile. I have some fields like ID, just like this, and I have created one field called users underscore ID. This is an important point you have to remember. Users underscore ID is the foreign key. I have to create this particular field. It is by default you have to create like this, because by creating this you can join these two table, or you can make a relationship between this users table and the profile table. So I have other data information like mobile and address. So I have two tables, users table called the parent table and the profile table is called the child table. And the child table you have to create one field called user underscore ID. User, why I am writing user underscore ID? Because the model name is user here. So that's why you have to define users underscore ID. This is the foreign key. So if you write like this, if you create like this, automatically Laravel will make a relationship between these two fields. You can change this field also. I'll tell you later in this video. So here you see in my database, this is the user table and the ID here, name and email is there, password is also there. The second table is the profile table. Here ID is there. I have created one foreign key, user underscore ID, because the table name is user, that's why I have to create a user underscore ID. Mobile and address is there. So if you see this screen here, I have entered some data, just like first data in the user table, users table. John is the first table, ID is 1, and the profile table I have entered 1 here in my users underscore ID. So one record of the user table is related to another one record in profile table. So here you see there is one-to-one relationship between these two tables. So this is the first step you have to do. That means you have to create an user ID field in your profile table. So the second step is you have to define the relationship. Relationship means one-to-one relationship in your model. So open your user.php file, that is the model file where you have to define relationship. Okay, so let's do that. So this is my user.php file and this is a model file. If you see, go to your HTTP model and I have two model. One is user model, one is profile model. So open this user model. And here in this user model, I have to define the relationship one-to-one relationship with the profile model. So for that, you have to create one function called profile. You can write anything. This is up to you. This is the name of the function. So this function name, you can write anything, but it is meaningful. That means I want to relate user and profile. So you have to write return $this. So that is a relationship called hasOne relationship because I want to define the hasOne relationship with user hasOne profile. So you just write profile. So this is a class model. So that's it. So what I did actually, I've created a function, profile function, and here I've defined hasOne relationship with the profile. So you can read like this: user has one profile. So save this file. Now the second step is gone. The third step is I want to retrieve the related data by joining user and profile table. So open your controller. So I'm opening the user's controller. So this is my user controller. Here in this user controller, I have to create a function to retrieve the data from the user table as well as the profile table. So what you have to do is you should create a function index, and here in this index function I'm getting the data, all users data by creating user model and all. So what I am doing is I'm getting all the data from the users model and returning return view, and that is called index.blade.php file, and I'm just sending a data compact, and this is users. So just create a simple function. You're getting all the data from the users table and sending it to index.blade.php file. Open index.blade.php file, index.blade.php file. Here in this file I have to create table class table. Just create a table to display our information coming from our controller. So here, so use ts and just close it, and here I want to print the ID, and this information ID will come from my users table. Okay, so name is name, and third one is I want to get some information, name, email. These three information will come from my users table, and other information just like mobile number will come from my mobile, and it will come from a profile table. So just heading, this is a simple HTML you can write. Erase. Okay, so after this heading, what I do is I want to iterate over this data coming from my controller. In my controller, this data is coming, this is users data, so $users, and here you just write $u user. Okay, so here I just create a tier. Okay, close the tier. Just simple HTML to present the data in my browser in tabular form. So this is the TD. Here I want to print my ID, name and email. So just write what $user, and here you just write ID, user ID, and similarly I want to get the name. These are basically coming from my users table, and that's why I'm just simply writing user and ID, name. These are the fields. The other information, email, mobile number and address, will come from my profile table. So that is the important point. Here you see user, then you write profile. This is an important point. Why I'm writing profile? Because there is a relationship in here in the user.php file. This is the relationship profile, the function name. But here when I am using, I'm not using this function. I'm not calling the function. It should be the as a property or attribute. So user, profile, and the name of the field in the profiles table, I want to read mobile. Okay, so this is the tricky point here. User, profile, field name. Profile is the name of the function you have defined in your user.php file. So this is the important point. So now I want to get all the address from my profile table. That's it. And in this way you can get the information from both the table. These are coming from your user table, and this information are coming from my profiles table. Let's see the browser how it's working or not. So this is my browser, and if you see now, you see this browser is completely it is okay, but it's not showing this. The data is coming, exactly the data is coming, but the address is not coming here. ID, name, email, mobile, address is not coming. So mobile address, so profile address, capital A, small a. You go like this and refresh it. Now this data is coming, but the CSS is not working here. So what I will do is I'll save class. This class is stable, and now you see this information basically it is coming from your users table, and this is coming from your profiles table. In this way you can define one-to-one relationship. Okay, so there is another important point. Whenever you are using one-to-one relationship, if you go to this particular relationship when your model file, and this is has1 relationship, if you see this particular documentation, so the second has1 related to my profile table, and this is foreign key. This is the local key. So what is the foreign key and what is the local key? Foreign key is my user underscore ID in my profiles table. Suppose for example, this is my profiles table and this is my user underscore ID field in my profiles table as a foreign key. Suppose the foreign key is something else. If you write user underscore ID, automatically it will work. Suppose for example, I am just changing it because it's the model name. Suppose for example, sometime it may change. So users underscore ID, instead of users underscore ID, I'm writing author underscore ID. I've changed the foreign key. And you see, according to the convention, framework and Laravel framework convention, it is not defined. And if you go to the browser and if you run this, now the program breaks. So it is not getting user underscore ID, it is not getting. profile.user_id is not there in your table. So how to do that? How to correct it? So in your user.php file, you have to define the foreign key if the foreign key is not according to the convention. So what is the foreign key actually? Author underscore id. We defined it. This is the foreign key actually in my table. So that's why I have to define it. And if you go to this browser again and let's run this program. Now it is working. Everything is fine. So this is called one-to-one relationship.